Hi, and welcome back, viewers. This is a learning path for Microsoft Excel for data analysts, and my name is Arav Soni. Today, we're going to go over create and format basic charts in Microsoft Excel. And this course is approximately 11 minutes long, so this should be a short video. So let's get started. Alright, so first up, let's get started with the introduction to why creating charts in Microsoft Excel is important. And later in the video, we're going to go over creating bar chart, line chart, and pie chart.
Let's talk about Excel charts. Charts are an important tool for visualizing data. With charts, it's easier for us to identify trends, patterns, and share insights. In this course, we'll use a simple dataset to create and customize various charts in Excel. The dataset contains the results of a survey, and we're asking for satisfaction and recommendation of our products. Next to that, we're also asking for some additional data. Name, age, gender, education, employment, income, marital status, and city. We won't be using all of these. I've prepared some summaries of this data, and we'll be using those to create charts.
Alright, so here we'll go over creating basic charts, that is bar chart, line chart, and pie chart.
In here, I have education level, female, male, and total average. I'm going to select all the data. Next, I'm going to move to the tab Insert, and I have two options. I could either click on Recommended Charts, and you can see it is recommending some bar charts, or I can make this decision for myself, which is what I'm going to do in this case, and click on this column to create a bar chart. I have a whole bunch of options which style I like, and I like this one. And as you can see, it has created a basic bar chart for me. It is displaying the average satisfaction based on education level and segmented in female, male, and also the total average. And that's how to create a bar chart. In this tab, I've prepared some data that I'm going to use to create a line graph. I want to see if the satisfaction is changing over age, whether there's a typical trend that we can see. So in order to do this, I'm going to select the data that I want to be using. I'm also going to select grand total right now, so that I can show you how to remove that later. I'm going to navigate to Insert, and I'm going to click on this line, and I'm going to choose the one I like, which is in my case the first one. And as you can see, it is showing the average satisfaction. On the x-axis we have the age, and on the y-axis we have the satisfaction. Finally, let's create a pie chart to display the distribution of marital status. I'm going to select the relevant columns, and I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to choose the pie chart. And again, I'm going to opt for the basic option. And as you can see, it has created a pie chart, and it's very clearly visible that a much larger percentage was married than was single.
Now let's go over how to customize the elements in the chart.
Now let's customize our charts to make them more informative and visually appealing. So looking at this chart, the thing that's disturbing me the most is the chart title. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to type average satisfaction by education level. This is already a much better title. I could also do something different. I could, instead of making this a fixed value, I could make it equal to the value of a cell. I move to the formulas bar and I type the equal sign, and then I'm just going to click on the cell that I want it to be equal to and hit enter. And now, as soon as I change this cell, for example like this, you can see that the title gets updated as well. But I like this title, so I'm going to keep it in. There are also other things I could do. I could go ahead and resize the chart like this. And then, if I wanted to change the position of the legend, I could right click on that, and I could hit Format Legend. And then I could choose the position I would want them on. I quite like them on the right, so I'm going to keep them there. Adding data labels can make our chart easier to read. So I'm going to add data labels at our total average. Go to right click, and I'm going to say Add Data Labels. And then I'm going to do the same for male and female. As you can see, I've introduced a new problem. This looks awful. So I'm going to right click on our data labels, and I'm going to say Format Data Labels. Then I'm going to navigate to Text Options, click the text box, and I can change the text direction. I'm going to say rotate all text 270 degrees. I'm going to do the same for the other labels as well. Okay, I've introduced a new problem. right now our title is overlapping with the data labels. So I'm going to just move the title a little bit to the side. I'm going to make the graph a little bit bigger, and that would be it. I want to show one more thing. In the top lint, we can move to chart design. And in here, we can actually choose from default designs. And you can see we have a whole bunch of different options. I quite like this one. So instead, I could have gone for this one, and then still, because I like my legends on the right, have adjusted it from there. So you can go ahead and customize those default chart styles as well. So I'm going to say right-click, Format Legends, and I'm going to move them to the right again. And that's how I can customize a bar chart. For the line chart, I want to show how I can go ahead and add some labels to our axis. So I'm going to click on the chart, and I'm going to make sure that I'm in the chart design, and then I'm going to click on Add Chart Elements. And here I can navigate to Axis Titles, and I'm going to add one first for my X-axis, and that's going to be H. And next I'm also going to add one for my Y-axis, and that's going to be Score in this case. I could also have chosen to go ahead and add data labels or choose one of the default styles, but I'm going to skip that. It works the same as it works for the bar chart. There's one more thing I want to do though. I want to add a trend line. Again, I navigate to Add Chart Elements, and I navigate down to Trend Line. I'm going to click Linear. And that's going to do its best to draw a trend line, and as you can see, this one seems to be slightly increasing. And now let's navigate to the pie chart, and what I want to do here, I want to go ahead and change the title to Distribution of Marital Status. And then for a pie chart, I'm just going to choose one of the basic designs. I quite like this first one, but there's a problem. I don't like those numbers, because these are too dark to properly read. So I'm going to click on them, navigate to our text options, and I can go ahead and change the color. In this case, I'm going to make them white, because it's easier to read in these colors. You can see we also have some label options. For example, I could choose to add in the married and single in each respective part of the pie. As you can see, we have plenty of options to customize the charts to our liking.
Hi, so now we're going to go over adding and customizing data series and the charts that we've added already.
If you're a little bit like me, this graph is very hard to watch, because looking at this blank at the very end, it just hurts my eyes. So let's go ahead and fix this. I have multiple ways of doing this, but in this case I'm going to right-click and I'm going to say Select Data. And then I actually have different options, but what is the easiest to do is then I'm going to just select the data that I want to use again. So in this case, I'm not going to select a blank. I'm going to open up the menu again and I'm going to select OK. And as you can see, the blank is now gone. Much better. If I want to change some of the colors, I could do that too. So let's say I want to change this green. I can just click on the green bar and all of the green bars are selected. I can now go ahead and I can change the color. So for example, I could make it purple. I have other options too. I could go ahead and for example add a glow, soft edges, shadows, but I don't like any of that. One thing that might be actually nice is the pattern fill. Why would this be nice? Well, this way it's also accessible to people who are, for example, colorblind and have issues distinguishing the different colors. Right now, they can still not really keep the female and male apart, but the total average is standing out. So let's go ahead and also change male and give it a pattern fill too. So in this case, I actually want to keep it orange, but I'm going to opt for little dots. Now I have a new problem, because my data labels are no longer visible. Let's quickly fix that by changing the color of our data labels free male column. So go to text options, and I'm going to select the color orange here. And now this is readable again. This is demonstrating how you can adjust the data series of the bar chart. Alright, what I want to do here, I want to go ahead and add a line for the average of recommendation as well. What I want to change to this data is two things. First of all, I want to get rid of the grand total, since it's not at the logical position and is not part of the trend. And then next, I want to add the average of recommendation as a separate line to this graph. And there's actually a very easy way I can do that. I can go ahead and select it, and as you can see, my graph has adjusted, and now it is showing two lines. But a few things have changed. My title is gone. So let's go ahead, go to Chart Design and say Add Chart Element, and go to Chart Title and click above Chart. So right now I want to say average score by age. There we go. And there's more things I can do. For example, I could go in and change the color of this line. So instead of orange, I could opt for a different color. I could, for example, make it red. And I could also change the width. I could make it smaller, for example. Or I could make it bigger. I actually quite liked it the way it was. And lastly, let me show you how I can differentiate pie segments. If I wanted to pull a little part out, I could simply go ahead, click on it and drag it to change it a little bit. I could also go ahead and change the color of a single segment. I click on the color and I'm going to right click and say Format Data Point. Then in here I actually have a few options. Let's start by changing the color to green, and I'm also going to make it a pattern fill here. Then the next thing I want to show you is that I can do a point explosion, and this is actually going to take the slice out a little bit as well. If you have more than 2 slices, you'll see that all these slices are taken apart a little. And I can also go ahead and rotate the graph by increasing the angle of the first slice.
Alright, so that was basic charts in Microsoft Excel. I hope you liked the video and got the most out of it. And stay tuned for next week while we go over specialized charts in Microsoft Excel. Thank you so much, everyone.